Hare Krishna. Om Agyantimirandhasya Gyananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagra Jatam Sahagana Raghunathan Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukum Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langaiti Girim Yat Kripatamaham Bande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Okay. So we are continuing on the 7th chapter. Um, we are very happy to be back on Bhakti Yoga chapters. This chapter acronym we are dealing is HEAD. H stands for importance of hearing. E stands for he is everywhere. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, and we living entities are his part and parcel. He claims that um, he is the source of creation. He is within the creation, like the taste of water, sun and moon. Everything is emanates from him. In spite of his glories, people don't know him or don't understand him because mohita nabi janati, because of moha, because of illusion. We discuss about maya. Maya means that which is not. Um, because we are covered by this illusion, we are not able to see the true reality of this material world. Just like when cloud comes on the sky, it covers the sun. Likewise, although sun is there, but it becomes covered to us because of this cloud. This cloud is compared to Maya. Although Krishna is there, he becomes covered by his internal potency, and we become deluded by identifying with the body and relationship and things in this world and become absorbed in material activities. So we cannot see beyond that, cannot see the soul, cannot see the source of the soul, cannot see anything. So we discussed that in little bit more detail a couple of weeks back. Then A stands for accept and reject. Four kind of people accept Krishna, four kind of people reject Krishna. People who reject Krishna are those who are foolish, who work hard, that if you ask them about Krishna consciousness, they have no time for it. Then those who are Naradhamas, or whose consciousness is not developed, they are too materially absorbed. They go to temple once in a while, but their reason is increasing their business. My children's marriage, children marriage, my child's marriage, um, whatever, whatever. Health. So they go to the temple, they pray to the Lord, but their purpose is something temporary they want from there. Then the third is Maya, Maya Paharita Jnana. They seems to know the Vedas, seems to have spiritual knowledge, but they don't have proper conclusion. So they show themselves as very learned, but they don't know the goal. What is spiritual life? What's the goal? They are just reading for the sake of some spiritual practice going on, and their conclusion is false. So that's why Maya Paharita Jnana, or their jnana, or their knowledge is stolen by illusion. And the fourth is atheistic demons, like that Sri Lankan scientist who says there is no God. Uh, those people. So these four people, they don't surrender to Krishna. Then four kind of people who do surrender to Krishna. Uh, those who are distressed, we see the elephant Gajendra. He called out to the Lord when his leg was being bitten by um, a crocodile. Many of us come to Krishna consciousness because we were distressed. At some point, things were not going right, and this Krishna consciousness seems like a relief to us, uh, to our burning anxiety heart. Um, then those who are looking for wealth, they also approach Krishna, like Dhruva Maharaj, who approached, he wanted a kingdom greater than great grandfather Brahma. Saw that example. Then those who are inquisitive, they don't want wealth, they are not distressed, but they just see that there is something beyond life. Life continues after death. Who are we? If we are spirit soul, there is karma. So Who is God? What's the purpose? Is there a spiritual word? What does Bhagavad Gita Krishna says? This is a national book. What does it contain? So they're just inquisitive. Um, People who are inquisitive are higher in consciousness than people who um, are approaching Krishna for distress or for wealth. And the last one is people who are searching after knowledge. The liberated souls, they have no material desires, but they don't know about Krishna also. Inquisitive, they are attached to this material world, but they are eager. So they have material desire. But people who are in knowledge and searching for perfection, they are those kind of people who are more like liberated souls. And they have no desire, but they are just still searching out for God. All these four kind of devotees are called beginners. um, all of us may come to Krishna consciousness for any of these reasons, but we don't continue. Suppose if we come for out of distress, we don't continue because we are distressed. Distress will go away, but we continue because now we are getting the knowledge, now we are understanding, and also now we are developing a taste in spiritual life. That helps us continue. Krishna says, anybody who approaches me is a great soul. Now, why Krishna says that, we will discuss today in more detail also. Because somebody who is looking for wealth can approach so many devatas, can approach Ganesh, uh, Lakshmi, can approach so many devatas, but if he ends up in approaching Krishna, that's why Krishna says anybody who approaches me out of any of these four reasons, he's a great soul. Because at least now Krishna says in this section that we will cover today, um, mm, when one is free from all sinful reactions, from all previous lives, then only he is allowed to approach Krishna. Not everybody can approach Krishna. It may seem like, what is there? I can go to Krishna temple and ask him for everything, and ask him for all material things also. But the fact is, if you are approaching Krishna, then there is nothing which is an accident. Everything is an incident. So it's arranged for us in this situation based on our own past. That's why we are allowed to approach Krishna. So this brings us to Devatas, because Krishna says anybody who approaches me is a great soul. And now Krishna describes here, but there are so many other Devatas who everybody approaches. Then who are they, and what is my relationship with them? Okay. So Krishna says here, beginning with number 20, those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desires surrender unto demigods, uh, and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. So, who worship demigods? Krishna says, whose intelligence has been stolen by material desires. They worship demigods. Okay. Example, um, Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu was, he performed severe austerities and he approached Lord Brahma, but his desire was um, material. Another example is um, Ravana. He was a devotee of Lord Shiva, but he um, he asked, um, may I not be killed by anyone, but his desire, his prayer was material. So people who approach demigods, usually they have material desires. That's why they approach them. um, and they follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their nature. Like there is Kali worship, where they sacrifice a goat, and they please Kali in certain ways on a day of Amavasya, and then they ask for wealth and other things. Um, okay, and we see that anybody who goes to temple, there is a very famous temple, Balaji temple. He's called like a business god, where people go and make a donation, and then um, thousands and thousands of dollars, and then their wealth increases. They have that faith, they request, they desire in this particular way. Um, so um, so many people come to our temple, and so many people goes to all the temple, but whenever they go, they have something to ask for. So generally people who approaches demigods, their intelligence is stolen by material desire, and they follow a particular rules and regulations. So to worship any demigod, there is a rule and regulation. Like those who worship um, Kali in Amavasya, they do something. So they have some rules and regulations. Likewise, there's a different day for different devatas. So they worship them. There is different stotras for all different devatas, and they recite those prayers to those devatas. So they follow their own rules and regulations. And now people can approach Krishna also with material desires. Okay. Uh, Thank you. Mataji asks, is Balaji a demigod? No, he's not a demigod. He's Krishna himself. But I gave the reason just that people usually in today's day and age approach um, for material desires. That's where I gave the reason Balaji. And I was just coming to that point. Thank you, Mataji, for asking this question. Even Krishna, people can approach out of material desire, and Krishna does mention that, um, out of distress, out of wealth. But the difference between those who approach Krishna for material desire and those who approach other devatas for material desire, the difference is if we worship Krishna, even with the material desire, Krishna will also fulfill the material desire, but Krishna will purify our heart. But if we worship other devatas with material desires, they can also fulfill material desires, but our heart will not be purified. Just like Gajendra approached out of distress, but he became a pure devotee of Vishnu. Likewise, Dhruv Maharaj approached Narayan out of wealth, but when the Lord gave him wealth, he gave him a kingdom greater than Lord Brahma. But Dhruv Maharaj became a pure devotee of the Lord. There are many, many stories. Um, um, One time, Diti, Diti's son was Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. Both the sons were killed by Vishnu. And Diti knew that Indra approached Vishnu to kill them. So Diti had this envy for Indra, that because of Indra, my two sons were killed. Naturally, a mother never sees fault in their sons, but her sons were like Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha, they were like the greatest demon of the time. So Diti served her husband Kashyap Muni very, very nicely, and Kashyap Muni was very pleased with her service. And Kashyap Muni said, I will fulfill any desire. Kashyap Muni is grandson of Brahma, a self-realized soul, who can give any benediction. So Diti pleased him, and Kashyap Muni asked for a benediction. And Diti said, I want a son who can kill Indra. Now it's a very difficult benediction to ask for, and Kashyap Muni thought, Arey, why did I accept it? Why did I ask her to ask for a benediction? Now what do I do? But Kashyap Muni was very intelligent, and Kashyap Muni gave her a mantra to worship Lord Narayan. And she worshipped Lord Narayan according to that mantra. But the effect of that was she became purified, Titi became purified in her heart, and then he gave up that desire. And he even told Indra that I worshipped Narayan just to have a son killed by you. I am very sorry. So the heart transformation happens. That's why Shrimad Bhagavatam says, Akama sarvo kamava moksha kama udaradi tivrena bhakti yogina yajate purusham param. Whether you have material desire or you have no material desire or you have desire for liberation, whatever be your desire, you approach Krishna, because Krishna will fulfill your desire along with purity of the heart. But we see Ravana heart was not purified, and Hiranyakashipu heart was not purified. Anybody who worship any other devata, you will not see their heart becoming purified, although the benefits they will receive. Um, so that's why Krishna says anybody who approaches me is a great soul. It requires a qualification to approach Krishna even for material desire. And Krishna describes in the second last verse today that we will discuss. That's why Krishna says anybody who approaches me is a great soul. Okay, okay. There seems to be a video.
The worthless worshipper of Kali. One time, an insensitive worshipper of goddess Kali went to the temple to ask for material benefits. O goddess Kali, please give me more money, comforts, richness, so that my desires will be fulfilled. Please fulfill my desire. I will offer you a goat in sacrifice. After his prayers and an obligatory puja, he soon got the desired result. After that, many days passed, but he did not keep his promise to goddess Kali. Where is the goat you promised to offer me as a sacrifice? Oh, it's too expensive. Maybe I can't afford to offer a goat to you. All right, but you have to offer something, so at least offer me a pig. The worshipper went away, but neglected the goddess's request. Then, on another occasion, the goddess spoke to him and said, where is the offering of a pig? This time the devotee again excused himself and said, I am sorry, but I could not find any pigs anywhere. It is not so easy, so at least offer me a fly. This is not very good. You have received your benediction, and now you must give something in return. The worthless worshipper said, there are so many flies buzzing around you. Can't you just grab one for yourself? Moral. Demigod worship does not involve any love whatsoever. This type of worship is very selfish, and one only has his own interest at heart.
So this is um, um, a general demigod or a devata worshipper. Is he goes to the temple just for his own benefit, and he has no love as such for whom he is worshipping. But all right, if you fulfill the desire of mine and my kids and my spouse and my relatives, then I will come to you again. But if you don't reciprocate with me, then I will go to other temples. So there is no love involved, and it is selfish by nature. Now, I am in everyone's heart as a super soul. As soon as one desires to worship some demigod, I make his faith steady so that he can devote himself to that particular deity. So sometimes people say that we don't like ISKCON because you call others demigods. Well, the reality is we don't call anyone demigod or god as such. It's not our choice. We are just presenting Bhagavad Gita as it is. And Prabhupada said our only qualification, we are not changing. Bhagavad Gita. We are presenting it as it is. That's all. So here Krishna says that I am in everyone's heart as a super soul. As soon as one desires to worship some demigod, I make his faith steady. So for us to worship a particular devata, um, um, is possible only when Krishna sitting in our heart helps us to develop our faith in that devata. Just for example, if we are born in a village in India and there is a village temple, and whoever is the deity in the temple, our parents tell, because they worship that particular deity, our parents may tell, well, why don't you go to temple? You should go to temple and ask and ask and ask. Go every day, at least once a week you should go to this temple, do render some service there. So based on our surroundings and our born and brought up and our parents and the village we are born in, we um, develop a desire to worship a particular devata. And when Krishna sees in our heart that we want to worship a particular devata, Krishna fulfills that desire, and we become the devotee of that devata. In other words, demigod worship also starts with our desire, and we cannot worship any demigod until uh, Krishna sanctions it. So, this is another thing. Then, endowed with such a faith, he endeavors to worship a particular demigod and obtains his desires, but in actuality, these benefits are bestowed by me alone. So now Krishna says that first of all, the faith in a particular demigod is established by Krishna when he sees we want to worship a particular demigod. And secondly, it says, um, in actuality, these he obtains his desire. If we worship Ganesh to remove obstacles for our business, Ganesh can remove. If we worship Lakshmi for more wealth, she can give. If we worship Hanuman for physical strength, he can give. If we worship Parvati for a beautiful spouse, she can give. So, any devata we approach, first of all, we approach out of material desire, and secondly, we approach them because we have faith in them. That faith is also established because we want to worship them, and the Lord sees in our heart, sitting in our heart, this is what our desire is. So He makes us feel connected to that particular demigod. And third thing, whatever results we obtain from them, the result actually comes from Krishna. So Krishna says in the last line, but in actuality, these benefits are bestowed by me alone. In other words, uh, these devatas cannot fulfill uh, our desires also. This is what Krishna says. They sanction it. They just sanction it, and the Lord fulfills it. Um, um, there is a very loving relationship between Krishna and demigods and all. Now these devatas. Okay, I need to change the room. Please give me a minute. Okay, so the benefits that that a demigod worshipper gets also come from Krishna. So there is this particular story where there were two brothers. Their name was Nala Kuvera and Manigriva. They were devotees of Lord Shiva, and they were bathing in um, in a river in Kailash Parvat, and they were sons of Kuvera. Kuvera is the in charge for universal wealth. So they were bathing, they were without clothes, and there were many women, they were also without clothes. They all were bathing in this land of Lord Shiva in the Kailash Parvat. Uh, Narad Muni happens to come there. And when the lady saw Narad Muni, out of great respect for the great sage, they immediately covered themselves. But because Manigriva and Nalokuvera were very rich, because they were son of Kuver, who is the in charge for all the wealth, they were very proud. Nalokuvera and Manigriva, these two sons were very proud. There it is described that one can become proud either out of one's wealth or out of one's education. I am graduated from MIT or Stanford or wherever, or one's birth. My parents are very filthy rich, so that may make one proud. Or one's beauty. I am very beautiful. Beauty can make one proud. So there are different reasons how one can become proud. Among them, it is described the most intoxicating thing that makes one proud is wealth. So, because they were sons of uh, Kuver, they were very proud, both of them. And when Narad Muni came, they were like, I don't care about saints because we ourselves are so big. So they were so full of themselves. So Narad Muni understood that these two people are deceased. So he cursed both of them that you both become trees, vriksha, paid, you become trees. Um, and they both lamented and they begged forgiveness from Narad Muni. And Narad Muni said, all right, you both become, I curse you. You both become trees. Since I have cursed you, cannot take my curse back. But I give you a benediction that you both become trees in the courtyard of Krishna's home. Where Krishna is going to take birth in Vrindavan, you both become trees over there, and hence they both became trees. They are called Yamala Arjuna trees. And when Krishna used to play, and different devotees will discuss about Krishna, they would see Krishna and they would hear about Krishna every day. And just by hearing Krishna Katha, they both became purified. The thing is, Narad Muni himself does not have the power to execute whatever curse he gives. But he only curses and he goes away. And Krishna, who is the Lord of the universe, because he loves his devotees, um, he um he whatever the devotees say, he makes that happen. So that's what Krishna says. Whatever benediction or curse was given even by Narad Muni, actually it was fulfilled by Krishna alone. Because just like if uh, um, if your son gives a promise that I will give you some pencil colors tomorrow, I will give you. And the son comes and says, Father, I need pencil colors. I have given a promise to my friend. Then you'll be like, all right, take it because you have given a promise. Because you don't want to let um, your son down in front of others. Likewise, Krishna supports his devotees. All the people who are in heavenly planets, they are devotees of the Lord. And we see that when um, when Hiranyakashipu attacked them, when Ravana attacked them, for whenever they are in problem, all the demigods they together go to Shvetadweep, and Brahma, who is the leader of all the demigods, he offer prayer on behalf of all the demigods to Lord Narayan, and Lord Narayan fulfills. That's why he's called the maintainer, because wherever there is problem, Lord Narayan comes into the picture. If there is no problem, then the word runs under the guidance of other senior devatas. So the uh, only um, um, only Krishna fulfills the desires. Any saintly person also, any Brahmana, even I mean in Kali Yuga, Brahmanas curses do not have such power because the Brahmanas are not pure themselves. But in Satya Yuga and Treta Yuga, when Brahmana would curse or they give a benediction, it would happen. But Brahmanas cannot do anything. They just say, but because of their purity and their relationship with the Supreme makes that happen. That's where here the example is given. In actuality, these benefits are bestowed by me alone. Another thing is these devatas, they cannot give the benediction of liberation. They can give only temporary benedictions. Okay, and this is what Krishna mentions here. Men of small intelligence worship demigods. So Krishna describes three kinds of intelligence: small intelligence, um, um, unintelligent, and um, um, intelligent. Three. So one who have less intelligent, one who are intelligent, and one who have no intelligence. So Krishna says those who approach demigods, devatas, they are less intelligent people. And he says men of small intelligence worship demigods, and their fruits are limited and temporary. So these devatas cannot give liberation, or cannot send one back home back to Godhead. But they can give material benefit. You want wealth, they will give. You want a spouse, you want a good education, you approach Saraswati, she will give you. They have the potency. The potency comes from Lord Krishna only. Um, but their potency is limited to this material world. So that's why the result, the benefit we obtain, we can get our business doubled. We can, I asked one person, um, do you believe in God? He said, yes. I said, what's your understanding of spirituality? He said, Sai Baba is God. And I said, well, very nice. At least you have some faith. What makes you think Sai Baba is God? And then he said, because I had a bicycle, motorcycle. It was stolen from my home. And then I approached Sai Baba, and then I got a call from police, and they said your motorcycle is found. So by the mercy of Sai Baba, I got the motorcycle back. So they can give you that also. They can give you your motorcycle back, or they can fulfill any material desire. And it's not a myth. They have the power. Uh, where they get the power from? All these devatas, they are devotees of Lord. So there are two kind of people. One are called suras and asuras. Suras are devatas. Asuras are demons. So there are devotees and there are demons. All the people who are suras, who are devotees of the Lord and who have material desires, they are promoted to heavenly planets, and they take the post of demigods. These personalities like Brahma. Brahma is a post. Even you can become Brahma if you develop. It is described in scriptures, if you perform Varna ashram for 100 lifetimes perfectly, then you can even take the post of Brahma. Manu, Indra. So these are posts. Only example is Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is actually not a demigod, because Lord Shiva, he is an expansion of Narayan. There is no difference between uh, Shiva and Narayan. But the Shiva that I am talking is different from the Shiva that is known in this world. Um, there is a Shiva who is called Sadashiv. He lives in the spiritual world. He is Narayan himself. And the Shiva that we know in this material world, that Shiva um, is an expansion of Sadashiv. But that Shiva cannot give liberation, because so Shiva is a complicated tattva. It's called Shambhu tattva. Like Brahma, Indra, um, they are all Jiva tattvas. Even Ganesh, they are Jiva tattvas. They are living entities, but they are empowered uh, um, for a particular functionality. Like for wind, Vayudev is there. For obstacles, Ganesh is there. For rain, thunderstorm, Indra is there. For wealth, Kuber is there. So um, these devatas have a particular function. Just like one can become a president and he has lot of power. He can um, put the whole US in a lockdown. And these mayors of Michigan or whatever we call them, governors, they have these powers. So likewise, these devatas are given those powers, but they have that power because Narayan, he supports them. So whatever they say, it happens. Yet they cannot give a benediction of liberation. That's why Krishna says them that they are small, intelligent, worshipper of these devatas, because they want something that they will lose at the time of death. So the fruits are limited and temporary. Those who worship the demigods go to the planet of demigods, but my devotees ultimately reach my supreme abode. So some people have this misconception: whoever I worship, I will reach the same destination. Some people say all gods are same, but Krishna is not agreeing to that. Krishna is not saying all gods are same. Krishna is telling, Krishna is distinguishing intelligent people, less intelligent people. Um, um, People who can worship devatas are because I make their faith study. Whatever results they obtain from devatas, it actually comes from me. People who worship devatas goes to planet of devatas. Who worship me, they come to me. So Krishna is making distinction here. Krishna is not telling all gods are same. The example given, just like if you take a ticket to China, you go to China. If you take a ticket to Japan, you go to Japan. If you take a ticket to India, you go to India. One cannot say any ticket you take, you reach the same destination. All tickets are same. No, they are not same. Wherever you want to go, you go there. Likewise, whichever devata you worship, you, because that's your desire, you end up in associating with the devata. But because all these devatas, there are 33 million devatas, the primary are Brahma and Shiva. Um, they are like the leaders. Shiva is higher in tattva than Brahma, because he is in the form of Sadashiva, expansion of Narayan himself. Um, Now, Lakshmi Devi. Lakshmi Devi is also not a Jiva Tattva. She is not a post. She is actually energy of Narayan. So there is a Jiva Tattva, then there is Vishnu Tattva, then there is Shambhu Tattva, and then there is Shakti Tattva. So these are four Tattvas. Shambhu Tattva is Shiva because Shambhu is in touch with material energy. At the same time, he is expansion of Narayan and Sadashiv. That's why he is neither Jiva nor Vishnu, the Shiva that we know in this material world. That's why he is given a different tattva. We cannot become Lord Shiva. That's why he is called Shambhu Tattva. But Shakti Tattva is also not Jiva, but Krishna's um, energy, Narayan's energy. That's called Shakti Tattva. That is Lakshmi Devi. Lakshmi Devi. Um, but worshipping Lakshmi alone for wealth is not good, because those who worship Lakshmi properly, they worship Lakshmi Narayan. They never worship Lakshmi alone. But we see in Diwali, people worship Lakshmi and Ganesh who really have no true connection. Ganesh is son of Shiva and Lakshmi is wife of. But why? Because Ganesh will remove all obstacles for Lakshmi to give me more wealth. So it has become a culture, although there is not much emphasis of Diwali or Lord Ram returning, either with Ganesh or with Lakshmi. In our Vedic culture, we celebrate Diwali by igniting the lamps and receiving Lord Ram in our heart so that he can purify us. Not to, I remember In my childhood, I was told we worship Lakshmi so that all the wealth in our home will be doubled by worshiping Lakshmi. So these kind of worship is not really um, pure. They're not pure by nature. Like throughout my childhood, I was taught this song. I always say that at least once. Uh, Om Jai Jagadish Hare Swami Jai Jagadish Hare. And then this line comes, Sukh Sampati Gar Ave, Kashta Mite Manaka. Om Jai Jagadish Hare. So we are telling Sampati, Bhagwan, आप मुझे पैसा दो, give me wealth and sukh, and give me material happiness, and give me wealth. And kasht is yours. You take all the misery and give me all the happiness and give me all the wealth. So this is not pure form of worship, but somehow, unfortunately, we are exposed to an impure form of worship which is centered around um, 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 our material ulterior motives. But actually, Bhagavad Gita and scriptures propagate pure devotion. Pure devotion means, my Lord, I don't want wealth. It doesn't matter if I get wealth or unhappiness. I don't want anything from you. I want to serve you. But what do you want in return of serving me? I just want to serve you because I'm your servant. I'm your part and parcel. I just want to serve you. This actually brings transcendental happiness, a divine pleasure that only a devotee can experience and feel. Okay, and that's why Krishna calls these demigod worshipper as small intelligence, because they cannot see beyond the body. So their intelligence is very small. Bas abhi ka fayda ho, but you continue cycle of birth and death, Baba. That's all right. I just want some benefit that I'm struggling right now to be filled. But tomorrow I will be in different situation. Now there is another prayer. So it continues, death comes and all the benefits are gone and again. So this is less intelligent or short-sightedness. They can only see this much. They cannot see beyond. That's why less intelligent. Those who, yeah, okay. Now this is another example of Hiranyakashipu. He worshipped Brahma. And when Brahma appeared, and Brahma said, well, I am pleased with your austerities, ask for a benediction. And Hiranyakashipu said, um, make me eternal, uh, um, Amar Banado, make me lifeless, so I never die. And Brahma said, I cannot give you that benediction because I myself dies. And in 8th chapter, Krishna describes the life of Brahma. How many years Brahma lives. Krishna himself describes in the next chapter. We will see that. So Brahma cannot give up eternal benediction. Brahma cannot give liberation. That's why he can only fulfill material desires. So Hiranyakashipu said, well, my lord, if you cannot give me liberation, then let me not die in the air, in the water, on the land, by any weapons, by man, by animals, in a day, in a night, inside the home, outside the home, etc. And Brahma said, Tathastu. All right. And because um, fulfills, the Lord abides by all the benedictions that these devatas give. So Narayan, he know that Brahma has given him this benediction. There is an instance where Narayan did tell Brahma, why do you give all these kind of benedictions? Then just to fulfill your benediction, I have to take so much trouble. So the Lord, because the demigods approached, Indra and others, they all approached. One second, I have to put my charger. So Indra approached, and Brahma himself approached, that Hiranyakashipu has become so powerful, we are afraid of him. The whole 3 verses afraid of him. Then the Lord told Brahma, why do you give such benediction? So Lord has to come as half man, half lion. He killed Hiranyakashipu. but on his lap, so neither on the earth nor on the ground. He used his nail, so he doesn't use any weapon. And because he is half man, half lion, he is neither an animal nor um, nor a human. And because he killed at dusk time, so it is neither day nor night. So the Lord abided by all he kept all the um, whatever devatas benediction they give, the Lord fulfills it and Lord abides by it. That's their loving relationship. In fact, at one point of time, um, there were a lot of sages. Um, um, and this is Nemesharanya, which is a place near Lucknow, and there was a Brahmana, a disciple of Vedvyas. His name was Roma Harshan Sutta, and Roma Harshan Sutta was speaking on Srimad Bhagavatam, and there were thousands of Brahmanas who were listening. Um, at that point of time, Balramji came in, and um, um, everybody bowed down because Balramji is the direct expansion of Krishna. So he is non-different from, he is also Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is direct expansion. So everybody bowed down to Balaram. Roma Harshan Sutta, he was thinking, I am a Bhagavatam speaker. I am a great personality. So I don't need to bow down to Lord Balram. And Lord Balram sensed it. He sensed that pride in Roma Harshan Sutta. Then um, any speaker who has pride in his heart is not qualified to speak on Shrimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Katha. So Balram, when he sensed it, in order to set a good example, he took a blade of grass and he threw a piece of grass onto Romaharshan Sutta. And just by the touch of that grass, Romaharshan Sutta fell down dead. And all the Brahmanas were shocked, and they told Lord Balram that just before you came, we have given benediction to Romaharshan Sutta. May you live long. Now, now you killed him. He's dead. So, if that is the case, who will support Brahmanas and who will believe in the words of Brahmanas? So, the reason I mentioned this story, of course, the Lord said, I can bring him back to life. And Brahmana said, well, whatever you do is perfect. You know what you are doing. You're the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But please do something so our words, so nobody says Brahmana's words are bogus. They are not true. Nobody says in future. So please do something. Then Balamji said, well, the son represents the father. So the son was Sutta Goswami, and Sutta Goswami was given all the benediction given to Roma Harshan Sutta were transferred to Sutta Goswami, and Sutta Goswami then spoke Srimad Bhagavatam, and Sutta Goswami lived long, very long also. So the idea is, if the Lord does not support Devatas and Brahmanas, who will believe them? Who will believe them? He wants to establish Devata worship. Um, so that's why the Lord fulfills everything they say. Now, okay. Now, something about Lord Shiva. Um, because mainly people have confusion between Lord Shiva. Another confusion is between Parvati or Durga. Now, Durga is an expansion of Lakshmi Devi. So she is also not a Jiva Tattva. We cannot become Durga also. She is also a Shakti Tattva. And in the universal affair, she is consort of Lord Shiva. And she is the in charge of illusory potency. So Maya Shakti. Maya Shakti is under the control of Parvati Devi. So that's something about her. Um, um, Likewise, Saraswati. Saraswati is also Shakti Tattva. She comes directly from Krishna, not a Jiva Tattva. But Vayu, Sun God, Moon God, um, Indra, Manus, they are all Jiva Tattva. They are post. Brahma is a post. So if you have any question about a particular um, Devata, we can discuss. Um, um, all the expansions of the Lord are Vishnu Tattva, whether it is Lord Ram, Narsimha Dev. If we approach Krishna, Narayan, Lord Ram, or any incarnation of the Lord, they can give us liberation. But if we approach Brahma, Indra, Ganesh, anybody else, they cannot give us liberation. Now, the only exception is Lord Shiva because he is Shambhu Tattva. Something about him. Aradhananam sarvesham Vishnur aradhanam param तस्मात् परतरम देवी तदीयानां समर्चनम आराधनाम सर्वेशम सर्वेशम means the best aradhana is um, um, the best form of worship. So aradhana is worship. So the best worship among all worship is Vishnu aradhanam param, is the worship of Vishnu. uh, so Lord Shiva told Goddess Durga, my dear Devi, although the Vedas recommend the worship of demigods, the worship of Lord Vishnu is topmost. However, above the worship of Lord Vishnu is rendering of service to Vaishnavas who are related to Lord Vishnu. This is from Padma Puran. Now think about it. There are some uh, people in India. Yeah, there are some people in India. They either they call themselves Vaishnavites or some call themselves Shaivites, and then they both kind of don't gel with each other, and they make like two different religious sects, Vaishnavites and Shaivites. So that is all kind of immature. We don't see that in the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam in the scriptures. In fact, some people say that they both are against each other. If that is the case, then why would Lord Shiva tell Parvati, among all the worshippers, among all Devata worship, the worship of Lord Narayan is the topmost? And even higher than worshipping Lord Narayan is worshipping those who are related to Lord Narayan, or Tadiya Nam. Tadiya Nam means Tadiya means which are connected to the Lord. Uh, in translation, it is described as devotees or Vaishnavas. This is another thing that Lord Shiva tells to Mother Parvati. Shri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rama Rama Manorame Sahasranam Tatulyam Rama Nama Varname. Um, O lovely Parvati, I chant the holy name of Ram 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 and thus constantly enjoy this beautiful sound. This holy name of Ram Chandra is equal to Sahasranam, 1000 holy name of Lord Vishnu. Padma Puran 72.335, where Lord Shiva tells Mother Parvati that I chant the name of Lord Ram. So there is this particular instance, sometimes it is quoted that when after Lord Ram um, killed Ravana on his way back to Ayodhya, he worshipped Lord Shiva, and that is true. Um, that does not make uh, we are trying to understand the position of Lord Shiva and position of Lord Ram or Lord Vishnu. So because there is a lot of confusion in this topic. Now, first thing, as we saw, Shiva is telling, I chant the name of Lord Ram. And he is telling Parvati, among worship of the Devatas, the highest form of worship is worship of Vishnu. And Lord Ram himself worship Lord Shiva. It is explained there that there is a loving relationship between the Lord and his devotees. Um, 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 and Lord Ram, after he killed Ravana, um, he wanted to um, tell Lord Shiva because Ravana was a devotee of Lord Shiva, and Ram didn't want um, Lord Shiva to be um, hurt, hurt. So he did worship Lord Shiva, but worshipping Lord Shiva by Lord Ram does not make um, um, Lord Ram as a demigod and Shiva as supreme personality of Godhead. Now, people who are not mature in their understanding of scriptures, they conclude from many pastimes. Now, there is another, there is, okay, now there is this particular pastime where um, 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 there was a demon, his name was Bhasmasura. He worshipped Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva gave darshan to him, and then um, Shiva asked for a benediction. Bhasmasura said, "Whatever head I touch, their heads crack into pieces." And Lord Shiva thought, yeah, what a headache that I have to give all these benedictions. So, but because he is bound by duty and he is Ashutosh, easily pleased, so he fulfilled the desire of Bhasmasura. And then Bhasmasura saw Parvati, and Bhasmasura became attracted to Parvati. So he thought, as long as Shiva exists, I cannot enjoy Parvati. So let me kill Shiva. So Bhasmasura started chasing behind Lord Shiva. He wanted to touch the head of Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva became anxious and he started running. And immediately he took shelter of Lord Vishnu, and Vishnu immediately appeared as Mohini Murti. And as Mohini Murti, he told Bhasmasura that actually, Shiva's benediction doesn't work. And Bhasmasura said, really? He said, yes. So this is Mohini Murti and Bhasmasura. And he said, yeah, um, Lord Shiva's benediction does not work. So Mohini Murti said, touch your head and see nothing will happen. If you chase Lord Shiva and touch the head of Lord Shiva and nothing happens, then the whole world will laugh at you. They will mock at you. So touch your head and see nothing will happen. Because it is coming from Lord Narayan, Bhasmasura touched his head and he died. So there are many these particular pastimes. Some pastimes, um, um, like Ram worship Shiva. Some pastimes is like Shiva took shelter of Mohini Murti, and Lord Vishnu saved Lord Shiva from this particular Bhasmasura. So these immature Shaivites and Vaishnavites, they kind of constantly argue among each other, discussing, well, who is supreme. They fail to understand that there is a loving relationship between Lord Shiva and actually Lord Shiva comes from Sankarshan. Parvati asks in Srimad Bhagavatam, this comes that whom do you always meditate on? And Lord Shiva said in Padma Puran, I always chant the name of Lord Ram. And in Srimad Bhagavatam, he says, I meditate on Sankarshan. Both are expansions of Lord Narayan. Now, this is a particular instance where um, you may have heard um, um, Sudama. Sudama was a very poor man and he came to the house of Krishna. Not going in the detailed story, but Krishna received him by washing his lotus feet. That does not make Sudama God and Krishna living entity. Krishna is still the supreme personality of Godhead, but Krishna loves to serve his devotees. So Krishna was the feet of Sudama. On another instant, Krishna became the chariot driver of Arjuna. Arjuna will say, go left, go right, take the chariot in between two armies. And Krishna was simply following whatever order Arjuna was giving. So the pastimes, just by pastimes, we cannot conclude anything, but we have to go by scriptures, by Shastra. And this is Shrimad Bhagavatam. Shrimad Bhagavatam says, Nimna Ganam Yatha Ganga, Devanam Achyuto Yatha, Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu, Parananam Idam Tatha. Just as Ganga is the greatest of all rivers, Lord Achyuta, who is Krishna, the supreme among deities, Lord Shambhu, Shiva, the greatest of Vaishnavas, Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu, and so Srimad Bhagavatam is the greatest of all Puranas. It is described in Chaitanya Charitamrita, although Balram is Krishna because expansion of Krishna. Lord Ram, Vishnu, and even Sadashiv, although they are all Vishnu Tattva, still they um, they are devotees of Krishna. All Vishnu tattvas, they are all devotees of the Lord, and that's why. So there are two kind of devotees of Krishna. One is the Lord's own expansion, and one is the Jiva tattvas. They both serve the Lord, and that's why although Sadashiv is is a Vishnu Tattva, still it is described in Srimad Bhagavatam, Vaishnavanam Yathashampu. Among all the Vaishnavas means those who are devotees of Vishnu. That's Vaishnava. So among all Vaishnavas, the topmost among all Vaishnavas is Lord Shiva. Even just like I gave an example of Balramji, he's the first expansion of Krishna, but he washes the feet of Krishna when Krishna wants to take rest. He becomes like a pillow for Krishna. So there are many ways. Maybe during Balram Jayanti we can discuss more about different ways in which Lord Balram serves Krishna. Okay, okay. So we have 10 more minutes. So this is something about, we discussed something about Devatas. We discussed about Shiva and how Shiva is actually coming from Sankarshan. In spiritual world, he is Vishnu Tattva, yet he is a Vaishnav, and how there is confusion between Shivites and Vaishnavites, and they both quote different pastimes. But just based on pastime, one cannot conclude. Rather, one should read the scriptures. And in scriptures, we see in Padma Puran, he is telling worship of Narayan. In Padma Puran, he is telling, I chant the name of Narayan, I chant the name of Lord Ram. In Shrimad Bhagavatam, he says, I meditate on Sankarshan also. And Shrimad Bhagavatam also describes that he is best among the Vaishnavas or the devotees of Lord Vishnu. So all the expansion of the Lord are also devotees of the Lord, along with part and parcel. And then we spend some time because there's a lot of confusion in this direction. And then we saw Brahma, Indra, they are all Jiva Tattvas, and some are Shakti Tattvas. And then those who approach them, they are less intelligent because they ask for material benefits. Um, we will see neither this Shiva who people usually worship in this material world, he lives in Kailash Parvat. This Kailash is still a part of this material creation. When the universe is destroyed, Satyalok, where Brahma lives, and Kailash, where Shiva lives, both are destroyed. So those who worship Shiva in general in this material world, they go to Kailash, but they are not liberated because they are still part of this material universe. That's why it is described, other than Lord Vishnu, nobody can give liberation. Only Narayan worship can give liberation. Okay. Now, um, so Krishna spoke about less intelligent people who are Devata worshipper. Um, they have faith in me because um, I sitting in their heart, seeing their desire, approve. Like sometimes people say, Prabhuji, I don't want to worship Krishna because I'm a worshipper of Kali. And if I worship Krishna, then what will Kali feel? Maybe I have so much wealth and they have fears. I have so much wealth and so many things. If I worship Krishna, maybe she'll be offended and I will lose everything. So this is because this understanding comes because of lack of knowledge. Because they think the reason they have such feeling is because they think, so the inherently they don't say, but they think Kali and Krishna are dead enemies. That's what it implies. If I worship Krishna, Kali will become upset. So it means they are dead enemies. And then she will withdraw anything and I will be deprived of everything. So this all understanding comes because of ignorance. All doubts arise because of ignorance. Instead, just like because they are all devotees of the Lord, that's why they are called Suras. Suras means devotees of Lord Narayan. If see a Vaishnava will never tell you worship me. A Vaishnava will always tell you worship Krishna, worship Narayan. So when we worship Krishna or Narayan, all the demigods they are greatly pleased because that's what they want, because they are all devotees of the Lord. They themselves approach, and they ultimately want us. Like one time, uh, my spiritual master in Bombay, he was giving a lecture, and there was a person sitting there, and he said, I believe in Lord Shiva and I am a devotee of Lord Shiva. And my spiritual master told him, that's why you are sitting here today, because you are devotee of Lord Shiva. And if you are selfless devotee of Lord Shiva, then Lord Shiva will bring you to Krishna. And I myself, in my childhood, for many, many years, used to worship Lord Shiva, and I still worship him. So Lord Shiva, when it is selfless service, all these devatas, they actually bring us to the lotus feet of Krishna. That's what they want us to do. But when we ask them some material desire, they give us material desire and they forget us. But when we just serve them and please them without any motive, then they direct us. There are many, many stories. Because of lack of time, I'm not going in detail of this discussion of devatas. Now Krishna talks about unintelligent people. He just spoke about less intelligent people. And he says, unintelligent people who do not worship, who do not know me perfectly, think that I, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, was impersonal before and have now assumed this personality. Due to their small knowledge, they do not know my higher nature, which is imperishable and supreme. Sometimes you ask people, who is God? And they say, God is energy. And then you say, God is energy? Yeah, God is power. And then you say, God is power? So, what is that power? What is that energy? He's supreme power. Um, so then you ask them, does God has a form? And then they say, no, he's just power, he's just energy. God does not have a form. Um, then you ask them, well, do you know any energy which does not have a source? Light energy comes from light bulb. Wind energy comes, it has a source. Um, um, Electricity has a source. um, Fire has a source. I mean, heat and light have a source. So every energy have a source. Can you think of some energy which is not coming from anywhere? Then how can you think that God is supreme energy who does not have a source? So these people, they believe that God is simply energy or power. And who is Krishna then? If God is power and energy, then who is Krishna? Well, Krishna comes from that power. He comes from that energy. So Krishna calls them unintelligent people. They are even worse than less intelligent people. Less intelligent people at least believe that they at least worship demigods, and they know that, and they worship the form of demigods. They have this understanding that demigods have a form. But unintelligent people, they say God does not have a form. So then who is Krishna? And then they say unintelligent people who do not know me perfectly. They think I was impersonal before. Impersonal before means I did not have a form before. I did not have a personality before, and have now assumed this personality. So because of their small knowledge, they don't know my higher nature, that I am transcendental Sachitananda Vigraha, and many verses and many Shastra references behind this. But that's an understanding. So less intelligent people, they worship for material benefits. Unintelligent people, they deny the form of the Lord, and they say the Lord is simply energy and power. But actually, Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, as he describes, and energy and power that runs the entire material universe, it's coming from Krishna. Every energy has a source. This supreme energy of the Lord, there are there are three kinds of energies: Antaranga Shakti, Bahiranga Shakti, Tathashta Shakti. They all also come from Krishna. Krishna says, Vivideva Shruyate. All the energies comes from me. I am the source of all the energies. Okay. And Krishna says, to those who are unintelligent, who are foolish, I am never manifest. I am covered by my internal potency. And therefore, they do not know that I am unborn and infallible. So those who thinks God does not have a form, He is just energy. Krishna says, because that's what they want to believe, I never reveal myself to them. So I always remains covered to them. Ye yathamam prapadyante. Tam satyava bhajamiham. As you approach me, I reciprocate accordingly. You approach me through a demigod, I will fulfill your desires through the demigod. You say I don't exist, I am without a form, I will not reveal myself to you, and your conception that I am without a form will remain. You say there is no God, I will make you feel there is no God. And you say, well, Krishna, I want to worship you in your original form, I will reveal myself to you as you approach. ये यथा माम प्रपद्यन्ते. जैसा जैसे आप भगवान को अप्रोच करोगे, भगवान आपके साथ वैसे रेसिप्रोकेट करेंगे. Yet at the same time, Krishna gives knowledge. Well, there are some small intelligent material benefit, some unintelligent means which have no intelligence. Small intelligence, at least they have some intelligence. Better than believing God does not have a form is you worship demigods. And better than worshipping demigods is you worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. O Arjuna, as a Supreme Personality of Godhead, I know everything that has happened in the past, all that is happening in the present, and all that are yet to come. I know all living entities, but me no one knows. Krishna says, I know past, present, future, and I know all living entities, but nobody knows me. But the potency of Bhagavad Gita, by this 7 chapter, 8 chapter, as we discussed, we get an understanding of Krishna. Krishna is telling about himself. That's why Krishna says this knowledge is confidential, because um, um, uh, you don't tell your personal things to anybody on the road, but you tell your personal things to those whom you have faith. That's why it's called confidential, because Krishna is telling about himself, and he's telling about himself, and that's why Krishna says only my devotees can understand this, because Krishna is revealing himself. That's why it's become a confidential knowledge. Okay, um, we are on second last verse. Let me see the time. Okay, please bear for 3-4 minutes more. So just two, three verses remaining. O Shan of Bharata, O conqueror of enemy, foe, all living entities are born into delusion, bewildered by dualities arising from desire and hate. So Krishna is telling every living entity in this material world, they have certain desires, and they hate something. This is called duality. Duality means I like beauty, I hate ugly. I like I like richness. I hate poorness. So this is called desire and hate. Desire means I like something. Hate means I dislike something, and this is called duality. So everybody in this material world is is illusioned by these dualities, and that's what keep them here. Okay, and pure devotees, they become free from duality. Everything in this world exists in duality, winter and summer, like two opposite things, hot and cold, um, male and female. These are all dualities. And is one who likes something and dislikes something is still materially conditioned, but one who remains unaffected amidst all dualities, um, not identifying himself with anything of this world, but identifying himself as part and parcel of Krishna, as something spiritual and transcendental, he can he becomes qualified to make progress to the next level. Okay. येषां तु अन्तर्गतं पापं जननां पुण्यकर्मणां ते द्वन्द्वमोहनिर्मुक्ता भजन्ते मां दृढं व्रता. येषां तु अन्तर्गतं papam. Pap is sin. Antagatam papam. Those people whose sins have been destroyed. Uh, um, Jananam punya karmanam. Janana means birth after birth. Because of their punya karma, because of their pious activities, whose pap have been anta, have ended. Te dvanda moha nirmukta, who have become free from duality. Bhajanti mam dhiravrata. They worship me. So this is the qualification required to worship Krishna, is very good past, free from sinful activities, free from duality, free from illusion. They worship Krishna with determination. That's why there it is described that not everyone is qualified to worship Krishna. And that's why, if you relate before, Krishna says distress, artharthi, wealth. inquisitive knowledge, they approach me. But anybody who approach me is a great soul, because it requires a very high qualification to approach Krishna. So then what about other people who cannot approach Krishna? What about them? Then Krishna says, well, for them, demigod worship is recommended. So demigod worship is also supported by Krishna. Rather than being an atheist, better be a demigod worship. But once you come to knowledge, better be the worshipper of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because demigod will give you material benefits that will end with your life, and the heart will not be purified. So better is worship Achyuta. And this is uh, okay. And finally, intelligent men. And Krishna says he spoke about less intelligent, he spoke about unintelligent, and he says intelligent people, they take refuge in my devotional service. They directly worship me, they render devotional service into me, and they attain liberation, and they escape the cycle of birth and death. So we have come to the end of this chapter with this 29 verses. So the summary: demigod worship, less intelligent, temporary, unintelligent, God does not have a form, intelligent, they render devotional service unto Krishna. Um, it requires a high qualification. Not everybody can approach Krishna. That's why anybody who can approach Krishna, Krishna says, they are great souls. They are great souls who can approach him. All right. Uh, any questions? Was it okay? Was it clear? Does it clarify?
There's one question. At the end of devastation, is it like Lord Shiva merges back into the Vishnu?
Well, he merges back into Sadashiva. They all are
Okay.
expansions of Sadashiva. We will discuss about creation in this platform also. Um, then through the diagram that you know, through that diagram we can explain.
Okay. Thank you.
Prapuji, I want to say something.
Hali Mataji, okay.
So, when you said there is no connection between Lakshmi Mata and Lord Ganesh, actually there is. Lord Ganesh is Lakshmi Mata's adopted son. So, because she had no son, she went to Parvati Mata, and because Parvati Mata had two sons, she gave one of those to Lakshmi Mata, and that is why on Diwali, um, Lord Ganesh is being worshipped with Lakshmi Mata.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you. Next time I will not say this. They don't have a connection. And thank you for the comment. Till now, I was saying this because I was not
No,
aware.
no, you're fine. I actually read this in Shiv. I don't know if it was in Shiv Puran or somewhere else, but I read this.
You read that. Okay. Thank you, Halim. Thank you. Anything else? Any other comment? Question?
Yes, Prabhuji, is there a difference between there's a Balaji temple in the US, it's very popular.
Yes, Prabhu.
There is a Swaminarayan temple. It depends upon which part of the country you come from.
Yeah.
Okay, and then of course the Krishna temple.
Yeah.
So is there a difference in worship?
Okay. Now, Prabhu, Girish Prabhu, worshipping Krishna, worshipping Balaji, both are perfect, because Balaji is also a child form of Krishna. So they both are actually worshipping Krishna. Swami Narayan. Now, I am not a great expert, but my understanding is that Swami Narayan is not really worshipping Narayan. I think they have something beyond that. If somebody else is aware, they can share. But I am aware of Balaji, and that is perfect. Did I answer your question? Or
Yes,
okay?
yes,
So are we good for now?
yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Girish. Okay. Well, I'm very grateful to all of you. Just made a humble attempt to explain whatever is my understanding. We'll stop here. Vanchakalpa tarubhesha kripa sindhubhe evacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Anantapodi Vaishnavendra ki jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Haribol.